that this could be translated, they had been prepared for the predetermined hour, occurring in the predetermined day, occurring in the predetermined month, occurring in the predetermined year. All of that to say, the Lord wishes to leave absolutely no ambiguity about His sovereignty here. This should provide great comfort to every believer. Dear friends, please hear me. We serve a God that does not respond to history, He determines it. God's timetable is precise, and all that He has decreed in eternity past will happen at precisely the appointed time. And He has set the very hour of when this plague will occur. I want you to notice also the parameters of their nefarious mission. We see this at the end of verse 15. They were released so that they might kill a third of mankind. Now you must understand that this is a reference to a third of what is left. You will recall in the second seal, we have the red horse of worldwide wars that will kill millions. The third seal is the black horse of worldwide famine that will kill millions. Then you have the fourth seal, the ashen horse of death, war, famine, and disease, and the wild beasts, and the earthquakes. That plague, it says, will kill a fourth of the earth that is still left alive. By the fifth seal, which would be the midpoint of the tribulation, we learn about the martyrs who have died thus far. And the text tells us that they are a great multitude that no one can count. In the sixth seal, we have the cosmic disturbances of a great earthquake and volcanoes and meteor showers that will undoubtedly kill millions more. And then the seventh seal unleashes the trumpet, the first trumpet, that destroys a third of the earth's vegetation. The second trumpet destroys a third of the sea and the sea vessels and marine life. And then the third trumpet destroys 1/3 of the world's fresh water supply. The fourth trumpet, then, there is a loss of light that will lower the earth's temperature, dramatically affecting the weather patterns, triggering worldwide storms and hurricanes and tornadoes and whatnot. So the death toll by this time will be into the billions. And by the fifth trumpet, with billions already dead, there is the release of a scorpion-like demon, a demonic horde that will be dispatched to torture non-believers. And you will recall that they will not be able to die, although they will want to. But now, in the sixth trumpet, death returns. And it returns with a vengeance. And these four demons and the 200 million creatures of judgment they command are ordered to kill a third of mankind. That is, a third of what is left. By now, dear friends, the face of the earth will be so charred by fire and choked with smoke and littered with the corpses of animals and people that it will be almost uninhabitable. Imagine just the stench of rotting corpses mingled with smoke. How tragic, yet how fitting. As I was thinking about it, you think of all the Christ-hating organizations like the ACLU and ACORN and PETA and Code Pink and the gay activists, all of those types of things. They will finally be silenced by the very God they mock. And who will the world blame? Christians, as well as the Jews, because they will see them, even as many do today, as worshiping the same God. And indeed, at some level, that's true, even though one worships in spirit and truth and the other does not. Remember, by now, during the tribulation, the world knows the source of all of these plagues. It's not like they're blaming it on Mother Nature or anything else. In fact, you will recall that in Revelation 6, verse 16, they have already said to the mountains and to the rocks, "Fall on us and hide us from the presence of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of their wrath has come, and who is able to stand?" We also know, according to the prophetic word, that because of the catastrophic devastation on the earth, the Antichrist by this time will begin to amass his armies and prepare to go against Jerusalem in the Battle of Armageddon. I want you to notice verse 16. The number of the armies of the horsemen was 200 million. I heard the number of them. Now, this is a curious statement. And some have argued on the basis of Revelation 16 and verse 12, where we read about the kings of the east that will gather to war against God, and because in the 1970s, the Chinese bragged about having a 200 million man army. Because of these things, many have argued that here in this particular text, in the Sixth Trumpet, that these 200 million are referring to the army of the Chinese. And some would even add, well, I think that they're helicopters. And of course, there's no exegetical or contextual support for such a fanciful interpretation. I believe that there's no merit for this being a human army for several reasons. Please understand. First of all, this is the sixth trumpet judgment. It is not the sixth bowl judgment, and it is in the sixth bowl judgment that the armies of the kings of the east come, which takes place during the seventh trumpet, not the sixth trumpet. Furthermore, there is no reference in Revelation 16, in that sixth bowl judgment, to the size of the armies of the kings of the east. There's no reference there. Plus, think about it. The sheer logistics of dispatching a 200 million man army, not to mention 200 million attack helicopters, to cover the entire globe and to kill 1/3 of mankind in a very short amount of time, which would probably be about a month, this would be impossible. Moreover, the world's population by now will be under the rule and the protection of the Antichrist, who is consumed with killing Christians and Jews. I would also argue that if these were human armies, the world's hatred would shift from God to the men inflicting such violence upon them, making the references here in verses 20 and 21 regarding their lack of repentance literally beg for relevance. You see, the world would be motivated for revenge against these other human beings, not repentance. Their hatred of Christians and Israel would quickly shift to whoever these nations were that would mount such an attack. And I would also ask, what motivation would there be for the nations to come together and amass a 200 million man army to kill their own in the midst of such devastating, cataclysmic events? Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And finally, the figurative language that John uses to describe these 200 million creatures suggests they are not human, but supernatural creatures with supernatural powers, like the 4 demons that lead them. John says there was 200 million. I believe he's giving us an exact number, not some figurative expression of a vast number. When he chooses to do that, he uses phrases like in chapter 5, verse 11, and the number of them was myriads of myriads and thousands of thousands. Or in chapter 7, verse 9, a great multitude which no one could count. But here he even adds, I heard the number of them, as if to underscore the exact count, to prevent the charge of exaggeration or ambiguity. And since he offers no information here pertaining to the source or origin of this army, by implication, I believe it is safe to assume that they are somehow associated with the 4 demons that lead them.